There had been several arguments over Taiwan's attempt to pursue independence, which was not going too well for China. Could this be a dangerous game over Taiwan? In this video, we will be looking at how China almost crushed Taiwan and how outrageous this experience was. But before we begin, make sure you like the video and hit the subscribe icon. Let's go. So, the main story is that China launched military drills around Taiwan after the US passed the Defense Act. Days after the United States passed an annual defense spending bill that authorized around $10 billion in security assistance to the country, China staged its largest military maneuvers near Taiwan since the Taiwan Strait crisis in August. Just recently, Taiwan's defense ministry said that 47 People's Liberation Army aircraft entered the air defense identification zone of the country, with close to 41 flying across the Taiwan Strait median line. This marks China's third largest number of single-day infringements of the Taiwan's ADIZ, a self-proclaimed buffer zone, and the most since August 5th, during various weeks of long exercises that Beijing staged to retaliate against Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taipei. There has been a steady increase in the scope and scale of China's air and naval operations near Taiwan in recent years, which include a high level of activity since the August standoff. However, the PLA recently announced the exercises, and that was the first since August. The PLA Eastern Theater Command said that the military had arranged joint firepower strike drills and joint combat readiness patrols. He also said that it was the resolute response to the United States and Taiwan's current escalation of the provocation and collusion. These drills came shortly after Beijing firmly increased its military posturing as the United States Congress considered and then adopted unparalleled military assistance for Taiwan in its annual defense spending bill, which Joe Biden signed into law recently. The National Defense Authorization Act incorporates different provisions for around $10 billion in security assistance over 5 years and fast-tracking of arms sales for Taiwan. China's Defense Minister, General Wei Fengzhi, commenced his speech at the Shangri-La Dialogue Security Conference by inaccurately claiming that China had never begun a war against another country. However, he later gave a strong warning to the audience of security experts and officials from Indo-Pacific countries that the People's Liberation Army, PLA, would crush any further attempt by Taiwan to go for independence. Wei said, "The US fought a civil war for its unity. China never wants a civil war. We will resolutely crush any attempt to pursue Taiwanese independence." He also pointed out that it would leave the Chinese military with no other option but to fight at any cost if Taiwan got split from China. However, Defense Secretary Mr. Austin later called the activity of the Chinese military provocative and destabilizing. Everyone's guess is that Taiwan needed this independence because only a few countries recognize Taiwan as a country, and they mainly recognize the Chinese government in Beijing instead. The United States does not have any official ties with Taiwan, but has a law that needs it to provide the island with the means to defend itself. Although the island has its constitution, about 300,000 active troops in its armed forces, and democratically elected leaders, the country still wanted more. China also strongly dissatisfied and resolutely opposed the law that claimed to damage peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. The Foreign Ministry said, "The case ignores the facts to exaggerate a China threat, wantonly interferes in China's internal affairs, and attacks and smears the Chinese Communist Party, which are serious political provocations." Taiwan's data revealed that 42 of the 47 PLA planes that flew into the ADIZ were fighter aircraft. These came with early warning and reconnaissance planes and a drone. Over 24 fighters crossed the median line, which is a highly risky maneuver the PLA does not frequently use, especially when Beijing seeks to respond to moves such as visits to Taipei by senior US officials. China sees Taiwan as an integral part of China's territory, a stance that prompted Mr. Wei to condemn US arms sales to Taiwan. However, a spokesman quoted him as saying, "If anyone dares to split Taiwan from China, the Chinese People's Liberation Army, PLA, will have no choice but to fight at any cost and crush any attempt of Taiwan independence and safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity." The United States was committed to maintaining the status quo, thus recognizing Beijing as sole government of China. He further insisted that they shouldn't resolve these tensions through force in any attempt. Following the emergence of the NDAA, the PLA stepped up relatively unusual executions, such as an aerial refueling exercise with bombers and fighters around southern Taiwan, various fighters crossing the center of the median line on December 8th, and an ADIZ incursion by a record 18 bombers on December 13th. Senior Taiwanese officials also pointed out that the PLA had already used these operations to practice various elements of a potential Taiwan Strait war. These operations include a simulated attack on warships and getting ready for an invasion with amphibious vessels that have been positioned on the southern and northern ends of the strait. Also, according to Taiwan Defense Ministry data, the largest single-day incursion of China into Taiwan's ADIZ was 59 aircraft, as at October last year. The ministry noted that a total number of 71 PLA aircraft worked in the area that surrounded Taiwan, but the importance of that number does not remain clear because Taipei only selectively discloses the military plane's flight paths for the Chinese. Recently, China's military said it had already carried out military exercises around the self-ruled island of Taiwan that focused mainly on sea and land assaults. This would be the second such drill in less than a month. In a statement, the PLA's Eastern Theater Command said its forces had organized actual combat drills and joint combat readiness patrols in the airspace and sea around Taiwan, which Beijing claims as its own. A spokesperson for the command, Senior Colonel Shi Yi, also said in a brief statement that these exercises aimed to test joint combat capabilities and resolutely counter the infuriating actions of Taiwan's independent separatist forces and other external forces. The Residential Office of Taiwan also said China was making all sorts of groundless accusations against them. It went further to strongly condemn the drills, saying the Taiwan Strait and the region's peace and stability were the joint responsibility of both Taiwan and China. The office said that Taiwan's position is clear, as it will not by any means provoke disputes or escalate conflicts, but will rigidly defend its security and sovereignty. It added that the nation's military has a tight grasp of the Taiwan Strait situation and the surrounding area and responds calmly. And that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.